Today we're starting 7.7 functions and equations. There's a few vocab that I would like you to know for today. The first one says function. For every input, there's only one output. So the key word there is one output, all right? So whenever we put one thing in, we're only going to get one thing to come out. Today, the domain is always going to be x, which is input values, the things we put into an equation. The range is the y, which is going to be the output values. So whenever we put something into an equation as x, the y will come out, and that will give us our output values. Here's an example of something that you're going to find in your homework tonight. It says, evaluate the function y equals 5x for the given value of x. Okay, when we're doing this, what you're going to do is you're going to take the original equation. So the original equation here is y equals 5x. Let's go ahead and write that down. Now all we're going to do is we're going to take the value that it gave us there originally, which is 7, and we're going to plug it in for x. Okay, so go ahead and put y equals 5 times 7. All right, Addison, what is my y value?
30.
What is 7 times 5? 35. If you don't know it, always plug it into your calculator. Okay? So what happened here is we had an input. 7 was our input. We put it into the equation. And what came out was our y. So y equals 35. All we're doing for this basically is we are plugging it into our original equation. So we're going to do the same thing for problem B. What does my original equation say? Y equals 5x. So go ahead and write it down. Every time you're going to put that original equation there first. Now we're going to plug in what it had for my x. Now if you notice in your notes, the x is your domain. It's your input. That's what you're putting into the equation. So Jakari, what should my next line say? Correct. Thank you for telling me that it's times -3, because any time that you have a number right next to a variable, you're going to multiply it. Kayla, what's my answer? What is my output? 15 is correct. So once again, our instructions, all it asks us to do is basically plug something in. It gives us our x, and it's going to come out as a y. Are there any questions about how to do that? Yes, ma'am. What this asks us to do is to make an input-output table. So we're going to actually come out with a table for the function using the domain. Remember, our domain is the x. -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So we're going to plug that into our equation, and then we're going to get an output. So it asks us to state the range of the function. All right, the equation that it gives us is y equals x plus 4. Now, as you can see here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inputs that it has asked me to do. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we are going to rewrite 5 times this equation right here underneath. Okay, so there it is, y equals x plus 4. You're going to keep writing it. Because I have 5 inputs, you want to write it 5 times. Now, what we're going to be doing here in just a minute is we're going to be getting rid of those x's, because I'm going to plug something in. Instead of having an x there, I'm going to go ahead and plug in something. So if you want right now, you can go ahead and erase the x's, because I'm going to show you here in just a minute how to plug that in. All right, now what you're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do an x and y chart over here on the side. So I want you to draw an x and draw a y. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and plug in the domain. Looking at your notes, which one is the domain, the x or the y?
X.
The x. So right underneath there, the first one you can see in my instructions, it tells me the first one is going to be a -2. So we're going to go ahead and plug in a -2 right there. The next one is going to be what, guys? Negative 1.
0, 1, 2.
Excellent, okay? So this right here is my domain. I am putting it into my equation. So over here on the left where I would have had my x's, I'm going to go ahead and erase the x, and I'm going to put in a negative 2. The next one I'm going to put in a negative 1. Kayla, what will I put in for my next one?
0,
0. Tati?
1, 2.
1 and 2. So basically what has happened here, I am plugging in an x right here. I put it in. That's my input. Now I'm going to try to get something to come out. You can see we've already written our instructions right here. So we are going to go ahead. If you know how to do it in your head, do it in your head. If you don't know how, use your calculator. So I want everyone to open up your calculators for me right now. You have negative 2 plus 4. I plugged in a negative 2. I want to get something to come out. If you remember, same sign, do what? Add and keep, different signs, subtract and take. Do I have the same sign here or a different sign? Different sign. Subtract the numbers and take the sign of the larger number. What do you get?
Negative. I made 2.
You get 2. Let's do the next one. Kayla, negative 1 plus 4.
3.
3. Sherelle, 0 plus 4.
4.
Shikari, next one. 5. Last one, Addison. 2 plus 4.
Oh, 6.
6. Okay, now I want you to look at this. If you have done it correctly, there will be some kind of a pattern coming down your Y right here. Does anybody notice any kind of a pattern? What's it say? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What did I do to each number? I added what? 1. So you can see a pattern each time. Plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. If I had come down here and instead of got a 5, maybe I had gotten a 7, okay? If it said 2, 3, 4, 7, 6, that could be a sign to you. Something went wrong. I probably did something wrong. So then go back, double check, put it into your calculator to try to figure out what it is that went wrong. Our instructions asked us, make an input-output table for the function. This right here that we just did was our input-output table. So you want to go ahead and box it in. The next one we're going to do is y equals 3x minus 1. So the first thing that we said that we were going to do is we are going to go ahead and rewrite this equation. How many times are we rewriting this equation?
5.
5 times, because in my instructions, we've got the same instructions as last time. You are going to be going ahead and putting in there negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. All right, my instructions have asked us to go ahead and make an X and a Y chart. So we're going to go ahead and do it like this. Please put each number on a different line. Looking at your instructions, Mason, what are the 5 numbers that I am inputting or I'm using in my X? Excellent. So at first it said 3x minus 1. What does it mean when I have a number right next to a variable? What sign do I have to do? You have to multiply, okay? So I'm not going to put an x there telling me to multiply. So what am I going to do to tell me that I need to multiply 3 times negative 2? Parentheses. So let's go ahead and put that in parentheses. 3 times negative 2. Let's keep plugging everything else in. Jakari, what's my next one going to be? 3 times negative 1. Next up, Addison.
0.
Okay, plug in a 0. Kayla, next one.
1.
Last one, Tati.
2.
Excellent. Now, you have put in your inputs. Remember, my X are my inputs right here. Now I have to see what's going to come out, what the output is going to be. So we're trying to figure out what the Y is. Let's look at the first one. 3 times negative 2 minus 1. If you don't know how to do that, plug it into your calculator, okay? Use your calculators, if nothing else, to help you double check. I had a lot of people in my first hour who thought they knew what it was and they would get the wrong answers, but you are allowed to use your calculator, so please double check it. First up, Addison, what is 3 times negative 2 minus 1? Negative 7 is correct. Next up, Tati, 3 times negative 1 minus 1?
Negative 4.
Good job. Mason, next one, read me it.
3 times 0 minus 1.
1? Use your calculator, check the answer. Next one, Jakari.
2.
2 is correct. Last one, Sherelle. 5. Now here's what I want you to do. As you can see, my input, it's increasing by 1 every time. Let's see what happens over here with my output. -7 to a -4 to a -1 to a 2 to a 5. Does anyone see what the pattern is? By 3 what? What operation? You're not subtracting by 3.
Adding by
You're adding by 3. There's a pattern. -7 plus 3 is -4. Plus 3 is -1. And each time you are adding 3. So that's a way to go and double check it to see, do I have some kind of a pattern going here? And then go ahead and box in your input-output table. A couple of review problems from what we learned last week. I want you to go and write this down for me. Number 1 says, tell whether the value of m is a solution to the inequality x is less than or equal to 3. So basically what we're going to do, just like we did at the beginning of our lesson today, we are going to rewrite the original equation that I've given to you. So what does the original equation say in my instructions?
X is less than or equal to 3.
Everybody read me what it says.
X is less than or equal to 3.
Excellent. Now, if you remember from the beginning of the year, plug it in, plug it in. So instead of putting an x, what does it tell me x is going to be? 5. So go ahead and plug that in. 5 is less than or equal to 3. Would you say yes, that is a solution that makes sense, or no, that is not a solution, it does not make sense? No, it doesn't make sense, okay? 5 is not less than or equal to 3. So the answer is no, that is not a solution. I want you guys to go ahead and do B on your own. The first thing you have to do is write what?
X is equal to or greater than 3.
Not equal to or greater than. What's that sign say?
Less than
Less than or equal to 3. What do I plug in?
3.
Raise your hand if you think yes. Raise your hand if you think no. Yes? Why is that a yes?
Because it's
It's
equal
less,
to.
it's equal to.
Because it is equal to. 3 equals 3. So yes, that would be a solution. Let's go ahead and do one more example today. This is another review problem from last week. It asks us to solve the inequality and then graph the solution. Last week we talked about inequalities. Inequalities are very similar to equations. So my whole goal is to get what by itself up here? P. P wants to be alone. It doesn't want anyone else near it. Who is near it? Not just 2. Plus 2. What's the opposite of plus 2? -2. So tell me what to do next, Tati.
What you do to -2, you have to do to -8.
Okay, you do it to both sides because you got to be fair. Help me out.
You cross out 1 and P is by itself, and then 8 minus 6, and you drop down the plus sign, and
Not the plus sign.
I meant the greater than or equal to.
Okay, now if you remember, we learned a rule. It said there was one time specifically that we would have to flip the symbol. Do you guys remember when we need to flip it?
Will we do it
Multiply by a
negative?
negative or divide by a negative.
If you multiply or divide by a negative. Did I multiply or divide by a negative here? I did not. So what is my answer, guys?
P is greater than or equal to 6.
I want everyone to read it to me.
P is greater than or equal to 6.
Excellent. Okay, so we solved the inequality, but now it has asked me to graph the solution. Addison, whenever we graph it, how many lines will we put on it?
5.
Not 5. How many, class?
3.
You just need to put 3 points. Sherelle, which one goes in the middle? A 6 goes in the middle. Jakari, what's 1 less than 6?
5,
What's 1 more than 6?
7,
Okay, so now the next thing we have to figure out, is this an open circle or a closed circle?
close.
Okay, I got a lot of people saying closed. Why, Mason, is it a closed one?
Because it has the equal sign on the bottom.
Because it has an equal sign, that's saying my answer could be a 6. All right, so now I've got to figure out which way my arrow is going to go. It's either going to go to the left or it's going to go to the right. Raise your hand if you believe it goes to the right.
Well,
Raise your hand if you think it goes to the left. All right,
Wait,
everyone is saying to the right. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go to the right. Now, let's check this out. You are telling me when you went to the right that this right here, that I could plug in this number. Does this make sense? Could I put right there, 7 is greater than or equal to 6?
Yes.
Yes, and if you remember, there's one other way that I told you could check it, and it would always turn out correct. What was it, Sherelle?
Ever greater than sign.
The greater than sign. If you look right here, this is a greater than sign, and this looks like a greater than sign. If your arrows are facing the same way, that is a way to check if you did it correct or not. Right? I want you to go ahead and write this down for me, please. Tonight's homework is 7.7, page 352, numbers 6 through 14 even. I've only given you 5 problems tonight, okay? And that is everything that you need to know for 7.7.